Welcome to the Gavel. I'm Terry Ikumi. Now here's what your legislators were up to this past week. Matters of security were up again for debate in both chambers of the National Assembly. The killings in Benue and Plateau states within the week made lawmakers emotional as they called for the removal of the Minister of Defense and the National Security Advisor. Now, lawmakers in the Green Chamber were compelled to reaffirm the resolutions from their National Security Summits last year and asked the President to immediately hire mercenaries to fight the terrorists. As political activities hold sway ahead of the 2023 general elections, a frightening situation continues behind the scenes unabated. The continued killing of Nigerians by terrorists. Nigerians in Kaduna, Niger, Zamfara, Benue, Katsina and Plateau states are under constant threat of being attacked and killed by the terrorists.
When 170 Nigerians die in a day.
With a high pitch, Senator George Sekibo could not hold back his dismay at the deaths of Nigerians in the hands of marauding terrorists in Plateau and the northern part of the country.
What I'm saying is that when 170 Nigerians die in a day, 25 die maybe another day, and we are seeing it as we are rubbing it off that it's just a person. It's a controversial experience. Nigerians are dying, and we are here to protect them. Every day we come here, we hear about dead. Get off for 1 minute silence. Get off for 1 minute silence. It is enough. I think it is enough. Either we get a solution to it, or we don't take this person out again. But we are embarrassing the Senate and the nation.
Senator Sekibo's outburst is in response to a motion on the killings of several people in Plateau and Benue states days ago.
Around 9 o'clock on Monday, armed bandits rained terror on two communities in Benue State, Tier 2 in Taka local government and Badwem in Goma local government, leading to the death of at least 25 persons. As we speak, Mr. President, some people are yet unaccounted for, and we may still have a high figure of fatalities in respect to these attacks. 2 weeks back, or less than 2 weeks back, similar attacks occurred in another local government known as Gwe West local government, also in my senatorial district. That led to the death of at least 10 persons. So it looks like Benue again has been targeted, especially along the border communities. And thousands of people were already in IDP camps before now. So you can imagine with these recent attacks, you have more people going into IDP camp in a state that is known as the food basket of the nation.
The horrendous attack on several communities in Kanam local government on Sunday, 10th April 2022, including Karam, Dongur, Gembu, Fukawa, Yelwa, Dada, Wanka, and Shuwaka, with over 107 people killed in one day. All these people, the corpses were buried just on Monday morning, 170. Further note that the attack has led to displacement of thousands of people now in IDP camps without shelter, care, and livelihood. Concerned that the attackers came on over 70 bikes in Dongus assault rifles, killing everyone at sight, including pregnant women, children, and the elders, with over 107 people killed in one day.
Let me condole with people and government of Plateau State, particularly your senatorial district, where the killings by the bandits took place. These killings are one too many. We totally condemn these killings, but beyond condemnation, we want to urge our security agencies to double their effort to ensure that they fish out these bandits who murdered innocent citizens. And for us in the National Assembly, and indeed this administration, the security of lives and property will continue to be the most important purpose of our government. And we owe this to Nigerians, and therefore we shouldn't stop at anything to secure the lives of our citizens.
I do not think there's anybody that can justify...
The killings in Benue and Plateau were also debated in the House of Representatives.
Nigerians are being killed on a daily basis, Mr. Speaker. The four angles of Nigeria, nowhere is safe. Mr. Speaker, what is beating my imagination more, aside of the killing, is who is responsible, not in terms of the people that are committing those atrocities. Nigerian governments have come out in different occasions to say they know them. They name them terrorists. They call them bandits at some instance, Boko Haram in some region, and now terrorists. They have been declared terrorists. Where are they is not even the question. But who is responsible is the question. We have a president, Mr. Speaker. We have governors. We have National Assembly. We have senators and House of Reps put together. Who is responsible for the safety, for the security of lives and properties of the people of this country? Of course, without any fear of political misrepresentation, it is Mr. President.
Until we stop thinking that everything has political coloration, we're not going to get anywhere. Because we have very well-trained personnel, security personnel. Why is the terrorists? Why have they sort of like overcome the Nigerian security personnel? That is what we need to ask ourselves. Because all these prayers, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, you just go down as one of the resolutions that we passed here. We passed several resolutions. And I can bet you, Mr. Speaker, one more week we are going to okay, we are going to go on recess, but apart from that, in a week's time, you'll hear something like this again. Because we have failed to address the problem. We have to remove all political coloration and face these people and understand that we are at war. When you're dealing with terrorists, you have to understand that you're at war. And all your rules must be the rules that you engage in war. But if we are relaxing and feeling that we are all Nigerians, Mr. Speaker, we are going to be coming every week on the floor to talk about this.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, things have turned upside down in the last almost 1 decade now. And we see a situation where to live in Nigeria is not just a privilege, but an unusual privilege, especially for the poor of our country. Now we are the privileged class. We move around with security convoy. We have our houses fenced round with security men everywhere we go. We have the apparatus of government protecting us. But like my brother duly said, Mr. Speaker, we are being paid to occupy this position of privilege by the sweat and the taxes of some people. And those are the average men and women of this country whose security is today not taken into consideration and factored into whatever government does at any level. One part of this motion that actually touched me, Mr. Speaker, is the reference to the fact that there were early warning signals, information given to security agencies about the plans by some terrorists and evil-minded people to attack innocent persons. And this information given by respected and responsible members of the public were not acted upon by the security agencies. Now the question is why? Is it that they feel that those information were not, important enough? Is it that they feel that there are some people behind this that they must not touch? We must go to the root of this matter. Why were those pieces of information given to the security agencies not acted upon? If we have to shut down the business of lawmaking in this House and move to those places and sit as a committee of whole to investigate these things and invite those who are directly responsible to such meetings to tell us why they got information about impending attack and refuse to act on it. Most of those who come on the attack, Mr. Speaker, do not come in 1 or 2. At times they are 20, they are 30. How do they move into communities and escape in those communities without being detected, without being apprehended? This has to come to a stop, Mr. Speaker.
In my own local community that I'm mentioning, we had a soldier who was supposed to be in Zamfara, having or giving pass for consecutively 6 months, who was arrested giving uniforms to the bandits. To this moment, he has not been court-martialed. If his station is in Zamfara and he's found in Zurak, and at the same time, I'm sorry to take my time to explain so that members will understand the complicity of the security agencies in this matter. Who was giving him that? And what is their own interest for you to give an officer or your personnel 6 months pass? Another one was arrested in Ampere from my same local community with ammunitions. To this moment, I don't know. Even when we raise the motion, it's sufficient for the security to act. But they are adamant. Among the people that were arrested at the local committee who were their own informants and collaborators, one was communicating with them from the detention camp, communicating to the community, and assuring people that were going to go out. And at the end of the day, he got out. When he got out, his wife was arrested with drugs. I don't know how to explain. And I think we just have to do the needful to ensure. It's not about the number of beatings we are having, but drastic action have to be taken against some officers. That's my own belief.
The chairman of the House Committee on Police Affairs, Mr. Bello Kumo, questioned why the president has refused to let go of the Minister of Defense and the National Security Advisor.
I believe the president of the country is responsible for every actions or inactions that happened in the land. Why? Because he took an oath that he is going to perform his responsibilities and duties without fear or favor. I respect him. I believe in him. I believe he is all and age enough to give this country the direction and the leadership required. But why I blame the president is why will you believe in having monopoly of knowledge? Why will you continuously maintain one national security advisor over all these years of your government? And you can understand that the national security advisor provides a leadership to the security apparatus in the land. And as national security advisor, he is supposed to submit to the president an executive summary of what the security situation of the land is. And the president innocently will act on the advice of the national security advisor. So where you maintain somebody who cannot be able to see outside the box or who believes in one particular tradition, I don't think we are going to get it correct. My submission is very simple. If the president means well to this country, and if we are really trying to look for solution, he has to immediately sack the national security advisor. 2, he has to remove his Minister of Defense. Where you have a Minister of Defense who is old enough that he cannot even move to Kaduna when there is a stray attack, how can that Minister of Defense coordinate the defense apparatus who ought to have been the head of the security agencies when they are doing their own professional meetings?
Federal lawmakers questioned the non-implementation of the recommendations of the Security Summit, which the House held in 2021, and the House passed a resolution calling on the President to immediately employ the services of mercenaries to fight the terrorists.
The House called on federal government that federal government should, as a matter of urgency, evoke the provision of Section 83, subsection 1, as it relates to contingency fund, to enable the government employ the mercenaries to quell this insurgency that is ravaging our country. I so move.
Welcome back to the Gavel. Both chambers of National Assembly on Thursday passed the revised MTEF and supplementary budget as requested by the President. In passing the budget, Parliament approved the President's request of about 4 trillion naira for fuel subsidy and increased the benchmark price of crude by $11 to provide the funds. Take a listen.
It's the last plenary session before the National Assembly proceeds on a 2-week recess, and lawmakers in both chambers have before them 2 critical economic and policy documents: the revised fiscal policy framework and 2022 budget for passage. President Buhari had asked the National Assembly to amend the fiscal policy framework because of developments caused by spikes in the market price of crude oil from the fallout of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and significant reduction in the volume of oil production because of crude oil theft. Federal lawmakers in the Senate are displeased at the level of crude oil theft, which is dealing a huge blow to the economy.
As a state, as a nation state, a sovereign state, it should not be impossible for us to stop people that are stealing our commonwealth in order to fund our country.
They also question how the country intends to finance the budget deficit, going as far as requesting that the Senate should not approve of this revision. But the Finance Committee chairman argues that the federal government is well within its borrowing limits.
Mr. President, when you have a deficit as high as 7-point-something trillion, with a threshold of 3.99, which is totally and absolutely above the threshold as presented by the Fiscal Responsibility Act, it means that the budget ab initio cannot be implemented. As at the first quarter of 2022, 13 vessels have been seized by the Nigerian Navy that contain our crude oil. So know that the Nigerian government is just sitting down doing nothing. They are working around the clock. And all these vessels that were stolen, they are working on it to see how it is returned back so that the crude oil can be properly disposed of and revenue related to this adequately reported.
NNPC has transisted from under recovery. Now we have gone back to subsidy. And now we are moving from billion to trillion. It is so sad because this is money we should have used for developing our economy. We're using that money for pure consumption, useless consumption, and funding corruption. And this cannot be allowed.
Despite the concerns raised by lawmakers, the Senate approves President Buhari's request for adjustments to the 2022 fiscal framework with several indices.
And I agree completely with most of the issues raised, except that of not passing it. Because we need to take immediate actions, and in fact, we are going to set up another committee on this oil theft matter because we need to address it.
The upper chamber also passes the 2022 amended budget in the sum of 17.3 trillion naira. The budget is amended to make additional provision of 3.557 trillion naira for petrol subsidy and restore cuts made by the National Assembly from key capital projects in the 2022 budget proposal. The House of Representatives also passes the revised 2022 budget. The chairman, House Committee on Appropriation, explains the amendments made in the budget.
We increased the police salary by 182 billion. That is, I think that's the only difference between the Appropriation Act and the Amendment Bill.
The National Assembly raised the benchmark price of crude by $11 to accommodate the subsidy request of President Buhari.
Finally, let's take a look at all the bills and motions considered within the week, including the 2 executive bills sent by President Muhammadu Buhari.
President Buhari has sent 2 executive bills to the National Assembly for consideration and passage. They are Money Laundering Prohibition Bill 2022 and Terrorism Prevention Bill. According to the letter of the President, which was read on the floor of the Green Chamber, during the recent mutual evaluation carried out by the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, there were observed deficiencies in Nigeria's anti-money laundering and combating the financing. The President says unless these deficiencies are addressed promptly by the National Assembly, Nigeria risks negative consequences to its rapidly growing economy.
In the light of the above, the Federal Minister of Justice reviewed the Money Laundering Prohibition Bill and Terrorism Prohibition Bill currently pending before this National Assembly and have come out with versions of the bills incorporating resolutions to the deficiencies pointed out by the mutual evaluation report, thereby bringing the Nigerians anti-money laundering legal actions in conformity with the Financial Action Task Force recommendations.
Meanwhile, the 4 oil marketers initially fingered by the NNPC as being responsible for the importation of off-spec fuel have been exonerated by the House Committee on Petroleum Downstream. According to the committee, after a thorough investigation, the companies Duke Oil, MRS Oil and Gas, Owando Oil, and Emadeb Energy, Hyde, AY McAfee, Britannia U Consortium did not commit any offense, therefore not recommended for suspension. In adopting the report of the committee, the House is also asking the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited to maintain local supply and distribution of 90 million litres daily across the country until normalcy is restored. Furthermore, the House is asking the Minister of Petroleum Resources to expedite action for completion of the rehabilitation work and ensure upgrading of the major refineries at Warri, Port Harcourt and Kaduna to meet AFRI-5 specification to boost local refining and reduce over-dependence on imported PMS into Nigeria to avert reoccurrence, as well as initiate the adoption of the 2017 PMS standard NIS 116-2017 as approved by the Standards Organization of Nigeria, which includes testing for methanol for further importation of the product into the country to mitigate reoccurrence. The House of Representatives has passed through second reading a bill to regulate the activities of orphanages in the Federal Capital Territory. Lawmakers say the bill will address the menace of sale of babies.
I move that the bill on our House to establish the Federal Capital Territory Orphanage Registration and Regulatory Agency to regulate the establishment and administration of orphanages and other related institutions in the Federal Capital Territory of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for related matters now be read the second time.
We've had over the years where people open up a place and they say they are doing orphanages only for them to recruit our young girls from school and kidnap them, so to speak, in quote, and house them in those homes and allow them to get pregnant, and then they start selling those babies. And I believe that this bill, when it's passed, is going to curb this menace.
Meanwhile, lawmakers want the federal government to conduct a study on effective penalties for failure to register births and deaths. The Green Chamber also adopted a motion to investigate the status of 10,000 transit buses provided by the FCT administration since 2003, which lawmakers say are disappearing from the roads and are not being effectively managed.
Citizens who are denied these services are daily faced with the risk of riding in commercial vehicles operated by kidnappers, armed robbers, and bandits. Cognizant of the need to recover the buses and make them operational to serve the core objectives for which they are provided.
The House then passed the 2022 budget of the Nigeria Customs at 369 billion naira.
A review of this act seeks to reposition Nigeria Customs Service with modern reality, full automation of Nigeria Customs Service with modern reality to facilitate trade, improve revenue generation, and more importantly, expose illegal importation of arms and ammunition into the country.
And that calls time on the Gavel this week. Thanks for joining us. I am Terry Ikumi. Do send feedback to the Gavel at channelstv.com. Bye now.